Nobody warns you that death doesn't knock like a thunderclap. It sneaks in like a thief wearing slippers. One day your mom, your dad, your grandparent is laughing, chewing on fried chicken, maybe even scolding you for not calling enough. And then almost overnight the plate stays full, the room gets quieter, the steps get slower. And the eyes start telling you goodbye before the lips ever do. The truth is, the final year of life isn't written in medical charts, it's written in the little things. The half-eaten meals, the phone calls that stop coming, the long naps in the middle of the day. The way they reach for your hand a little more often, like they're holding on to the present before it slips away. And yet we ignore it. Not because we're cold, but because we're scared. Scared to admit what those signs really mean. Scared to stare death in the face, even when it's sitting right there in the living room, wearing grandpa's old flannel shirt. In America, we dress death up in polite words. We say passed away, moved on, gone home. But those words, they don't make it hurt less. They just keep us from saying the truth out loud. People we love are leaving. And if we're not paying attention, we'll miss the warnings. We'll miss our chance to show up before the last goodbye. So I'm gonna tell you something most folks won't. 5 signs an elderly person may be living through their final year. They're subtle, easy to brush off, easy to excuse as just getting older. But they matter. And if you recognize them in someone you love, don't look away, don't wait, because tomorrow isn't guaranteed. This isn't a horror story. It's not meant to scare you. It's just meant to wake you up, to shake you by the shoulders and say, time is shorter than you think. And the only thing worse than losing someone is realizing too late that you weren't really there while they were still here. So lean in close, listen, and remember, because these signs, they're not just warnings. They're second chances. Food has always been more than just food. It's family, it's tradition, it's connection. Think about it, your grandma's Sunday roast, your dad flipping burgers on the grill, your aunt sneaking you an extra slice of pie, even though your mom already said no. Food is love on a plate. It's how our parents cared for us when words weren't enough. So when the plate starts staying full, that's not just old age, that's the body beginning to let go. I'll never forget my granddad at the dinner table. He was a steak man, through and through. Medium rare, butter melting on top, potato drowning in sour cream. For decades, you could hear him humming low in his chest as he chewed, like he was savoring life itself. But toward the end, he'd cut that steak into tiny pieces, move them around, and never actually eat them. At first, I thought maybe his teeth were bothering him, maybe he had an upset stomach. But then it happened the next night, and the next, until his favorite food was just decoration on a plate. Here's the hard truth: when someone starts losing their appetite, it's usually not because they suddenly stopped liking food. It's because their body is shutting down slowly, almost quietly. The digestive system, the hunger signals, the energy, all of it is winding down. You don't notice it silence can be deafening. You don't notice it at first because it sneaks in slow. One missed dinner, one phone call not answered, one Sunday when their chair at the table stays empty. And you tell yourself, they're just tired, they needed rest. But before you know it, weeks have gone by, and the house that used to echo with their voice feels hollow. My granddad was never quiet. He loved noise football blasting on TV, grandkids running wild through the living room, the phone ringing off the hook. He'd shout across the house just to say hello, but in his last year, the house grew still. He didn't pick up the phone anymore. He stopped asking about the game. He stopped joining us at the table. I'd walk in and find him just staring out the window like he was watching something only he could see. Sometimes I'd sit with him, waiting for him to speak. Minutes would pass. Nothing. Just the tick of the clock. And I'd fidget, check my phone, tell myself, he just doesn't feel like talking. But deep down, I knew he wasn't just tired, he was fading. That's the cruel part about the silence. It's not rejection. They're not pushing you away. They're retreating inside, pulling the world into a S. It starts small, almost harmless. A nap after lunch. Then another nap after dinner. Soon they're dozing off in the recliner while the TV hums in the background. You tell yourself, they've earned the rest, let them sleep. But little by little, sleep begins to take over. And then something shifts. Night and day trade places. The sun sets, and suddenly they're wide awake. The house is dark, everyone's in bed, but you can hear the creak of the floorboards, your mom wandering the hall, your dad sitting at the kitchen table at 2 a.m., staring at nothing. My aunt used to call me in the dead of night. "Honey, I can't sleep. Tell me about your day." I'd be half asleep, annoyed, giving her short answers. I regret that more than I can say, because what I didn't understand back then is that her body clock wasn't just off. It was breaking down. The rhythm that once synced with the world was unraveling. She wasn't being difficult. She wasn't restless. She was slowly slipping out of the cycle of living. If you've ever watched someone in those final months, you know the look. They'll nap through an entire afternoon, wake up confused at midnight, shuffle to the kitchen for a glass of water, then sit there in silence, eyes far away. And you wonder what they're thinking. Are they remembering old summers? Lost friends? Are they already standing in the doorway between here and there? Families sometimes get frustrated. Why can't you just sleep like normal? But normal is gone. Their body isn't keeping time with the world anymore. And when you see this, when naps stretch longer, when nights get restless, you need to understand what it really means. It means their energy is fading. Their connection to the rhythm of life is slipping. And it means your time is short. If I could go back, I'd sit with my aunt in those 2 a.m. calls. I'd pour a cup of tea, let her ramble, let her ask the same question 10 times. I'd let her know she wasn't alone in the dark. Because the truth is, those nights weren't an inconvenience. They were an invitation. An invitation to share her final hours in the quietest, most sacred way possible. So when you notice night turning into day, don't just see it as bad sleep. See it as what it is, a whisper from the body that the end is drawing near. And meet them there, in the silence, in the sleepless hours. Because one day, you'll wish for one more midnight conversation. Walking is something we take for granted. We lace up our shoes, head out the door, and never think twice about how much freedom is hidden in every step. But in that final year, every step becomes a story. At first, it's subtle. They move a little slower. They hold on to the railing just a second longer. They pause at the top of the stairs like they're catching their breath. You shrug it off old age, maybe arthritis. But then it grows. The walks to the kitchen take longer. The trip to the mailbox feels like a marathon. The cane shows up, then the walker, then finally the bed. I'll never forget helping my dad down the driveway one spring morning. He used to be a fast walker long strides, always outpacing me when I was a kid. But that day, it took us 20 minutes just to get to the end of the street. He stopped 3 times, hunched forward, gasping like the air had turned heavier. I wanted to scoop him up, carry him like he once carried me, but I didn't. I just matched his pace, slow and steady, because pride still mattered to him. That's what people don't always see. Slowing down isn't just about the body. It's about dignity. About watching independence slip away, piece by piece. It's about a lifetime of strength being replaced by fragility, and it hurts them more than they'll ever admit. I knew a woman named Ruth who cried the day her kids took away her car keys. Not because she loved driving, but because it was the final thread of her independence. If I can't drive, she whispered, what's left of me? When walking goes, when movement fades, it feels like the world is shrinking around them. And here's where we often fail them. We rush them, we grow impatient. We huff and sigh when it takes 10 minutes to get across the room. But one day, when the steps stop altogether, we give anything to walk that slow walk beside them again. So don't rush, don't get annoyed, match their pace. Let them set the rhythm, no matter how slow it is. Because those steps, those final, fragile steps are not just movement. They're memories in motion. And when they're gone, all you'll have left is the silence of stillness. When the steps slow down, it's not just the body fading. It's life itself easing toward its last chapter. And that chapter is asking you, walk with me just a little longer. You can fake a smile. You can fake a laugh. You can even fake I'm fine when nothing inside is fine. But the eyes, those don't lie. Toward the end, the eyes start speaking louder than words ever could. I'll never forget the way my granddad looked at me one evening. He was sitting in his chair, weak and quiet, the TV buzzing low in the background. I bent down to kiss his forehead, and when I pulled back, he just stared at me. Not in a weird way, not blank or confused. No, it was like he was memorizing my face. Like he was taking a snapshot to carry with him wherever he was going next. I asked him if he was okay. He smiled, just a soft little curve of the lips, and said, "Kid, don't waste your time being angry. Time's shorter than you think." That was it. Just one line. At the time, I thought he was in one of his reflective moods. But looking back, I know better. That was his goodbye. His last gift. In those final months, you'll see it. Their eyes soften. They get glassy sometimes, like they're looking past you, through you, at something you can't see. Some people call it the 1,000-yard stare. I call it the in-between look. Half here, half somewhere else. Sometimes they'll say things out of nowhere, words that sound like confessions, or advice, or blessings. Most families miss these signs. Not because they don't love enough, but because life is loud. Phones buzzing, bills stacking, kids screaming, jobs demanding. We get so tangled in the chaos of living that we forget to notice the quiet signals of dying. Meanwhile, nursing homes are filled with souls who slip away quietly while their families argue about holiday schedules. Living rooms grow still while sons and daughters convince themselves, "I'll visit next week," but sometimes, next week never comes. That's the brutal truth. Tomorrow is a liar. Tomorrow makes promises it never keeps. And if you think you have time, you don't. None of us do. So when you see these signs, the plate staying full, the room growing quiet, nights turning into days, steps slowing, the eyes saying what words can't, don't ignore them. Don't drown them out with excuses. Don't wait for the machines, the tubes, the hospital beeps. Show up now. Sit in the silence. Walk the hallway slow. Answer the 2 a.m. phone call. Hold the hand that once held yours. Eat the apple slices together. Let them stare into your eyes and burn the memory of you into their heart. Because when the final year turns into the final week, and the final week turns into the final day, you won't regret the time you gave. You'll only regret the time you didn't. And one day when you're the one slowing down, when your own plate sits half full, when your own eyes search the faces you love, you will pray they learn the lesson you almost missed. Time is shorter than we think. Don't wait for the goodbye. Love them loud. Love them now.